Welcome, everyone, to the Fantastics Inside of Baseball podcast. Skylar and I are just talking about the weather here in the Northeast.
It's lovely.
Well, you're not really Northeast, right?
Well, you're New England. I would say I'm Northeast.
Yeah, Northeast.
What are we, 5 hours apart from each other by car?
Just about, yep. Yeah. We're talking how you never can be dressed right, and we both got cold and flu, and
it was 80. Winter. It was 80 Friday, and there was some snow flurries Saturday. Like, what are you supposed to do? How do you plan for that?
I know, right? It just doesn't work. No. So we're both dealing with a little bit of illnesses here as we get going. And this is always a problematic time of year for us because the samples aren't big enough to really do a lot of in-depth looking at players and breaking down players. But one thing I thought we could talk about was players being unlucky and looking at some players who aren't performing as well as you'd think they might because of luck stats. And we don't like to talk about luck stats, right? Our analytics seem to think that that's supposed to be eliminating luck. We're supposed to be figuring out the answer, right? But
the whole point of the small sample size thing is that the greater sample size you have, the less luck is a factor. But, right. Here we are 5-6 weeks into the season, and there's still a lot of good fortune, bad fortune. I hate using the word luck because it just sounds like we're making up excuses for stuff. But, the fact of the matter is that anytime you're in a situation where if a guy goes 3 for 4 and hits 2 home runs, that his stat line changes by over 100 points, it's early.
I think it's a misconception that with analytics, we're supposed to be eliminating luck. I think it's about identifying luck as opposed to eliminating it.
Well, and finding rationale for why performance is where it is. And sometimes that answer happens to be luck, at least in part.
There's 2 or 3 stories being told on every player all the time. There's the current story of what's going on with him, as opposed to what his history tells us, as opposed to what his indicator stats tell us. And that's, it's our job when there's a difference between those stories is to figure out why. Sometimes it's luck. Sometimes there are many factors involved, but sometimes it just does come down to luck in a lot of cases.
Yeah, no question about it. I think, if you equate this to like the NFL, where Bill Parcells would say you are what your record says you are, I would say that that's accurate. But after 4 games in the NFL, that might not be accurate. After 12 games, that's accurate. So I think it's just a question of timing. And that's why we always are lamenting really about this time of year where it's tough to actually have a lot of useful analysis. We're getting close, though. Another couple of weeks.
Keep the NFL thing going with Patriots this year. We were told we were lucky all along. We weren't what our record was. We had the easiest schedule in the history of the NFL. So
you also had the easiest playoff run in the history of the NFL.
The easiest playoff run in the history of the NFL.
I agree to a certain point, but all you can do is beat the teams that are placed in front of you. So what are you supposed to do? Wish you played somebody else?
None of which is completely untrue. I don't get, but there's an emphasis placed on it.
Well, using it as a hobby horse for like every argument gets pretty stale.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the method here. We're a teaching hospital. I've been watching The Pit. I'm sorry. So.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you got to watch it. It's great.
I don't watch a lot of TV. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't.
We're watching The Boys, and I'm watching the new season of Daredevil, and that's about it. My wife watches a lot of stuff, but I'm either watching sports or I'm reading.
I got to get back into The Boys. I left 2 seasons ago. I got 1 season in this current season to pick up on. And
I don't know how much you're going to love this last season. I feel like the last half of last season and this whole season has just been sort of almost overtly political.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm enjoying it because I like the characters, and they are still doing some character development stuff, which is
become metaphorical.
It's almost past metaphorical. It's almost like we're just going to follow what's happening in the news today.
All right. So we like to teach here as well as do our analysis. And so when we're looking at luck, and when we talked about it before the show, we talked about expected slugging versus slugging and expected ERA versus ERA. And those are some stats, the expected stats, the ones that tell us how lucky or unlucky a player has been with his performance level. But it goes beyond that. When we're looking, we'll start with hitters here, but when we're looking at hitters, what are some of the things we look at to tell whether a player's been lucky or unlucky?
Well, I mean, I kind of go through my dashboard from left to right to see, what I'm looking at and if I can pick out reasons why things are happening. And the first thing I'm going to look at is exit velocity, bat speed, launch angle, stuff like that to see, all right, now, is this player changing what they're doing? What's going on here? Are they just making more consistent barrel contact? Because in the case of the first guy we're going to talk about, that's pretty much what it is. And then I also really want to focus on swing decisions. That's one of the first things in the season that actually stabilizes from a statistical standpoint. is a player's desire to be more passive or be more aggressive at the plate. And that can certainly change things, because there are certain players, and again, the first player on the list comes to mind for me, where certain players would benefit from being a little bit less aggressive, and other players would benefit from being a little bit less passive. I mean, you look at guys like Jordan Alvarez and Ben Rice, when they slump, it's mostly because they're letting too many strikes go by. You know, they're not really chasing, but they're just not swinging pitches that they should swing at. And that's always been the crux. You know, when I talk about the three pillars of what I look at from a batter, the very first thing is, can they figure out what they should be swinging at? Because that's really where it all comes from. You're not going to, Vlad Guerrero Sr. notwithstanding, you are not going to hit a lot of balls hard if you're constantly swinging out of the strike zone.
And we talk a lot about pitchers leveraging counts and first pitch strikes and things like that, and what a difference it makes in the performance. It's the same way for batters too. And batters who take too many strikes, and you're talking about Ben Rice. I'm looking at Roman Anthony right now.
Yeah, good example. Yeah,
making too many strikes and putting themselves in bad count positions because, you know, just not leveraging their at bat as well as they could and their count as well as they could.
Well, I think that's something that certainly you get with experience to a point. And Roman Anthony, obviously, really young player. That's something he's going to learn. I have no doubt that this kid is going to be a star. None.
Oh no, I don't.
There is a learning curve, even for the best. How many guys came up in their first year at 4 to 7 years below prime athletic age and were immediately successful? The list is tiny, so that's not something I'm worried about.
And to get totally unanalytical when we talk about a Roman Anthony, it's like I'm less concerned. I'm not concerned at all about his talent and his ability. What I'm concerned about is his mental state at this point.
Well, especially on that team at this point, that can be the kind of thing that might poison a player. But I do feel, change for the sake of change sometimes does work. And I feel like the culture, it feels a little better to me the last week or so, even though I disagreed with the decision.
Yeah.
So, maybe that'll just spur them a little bit. Jarren Duran has started to hit a bit. I think that there's something wrong with that team, obviously. And, a lot of pitching injuries don't help things, but everybody's got those. So you can't use that as an excuse, really.
We've talked about it a little bit on the last podcast. It's just, there's a mental issue with that team. It's not a strong emotionally team, and it has some issues. And Jarren Duran has benefited from Chad Tracy taking over the helm at this point. And I didn't agree with the decision either. I don't think Alex Cora was the problem, but Chad Tracy's done a good job, and he's got a good relationship with these players, and they seem to have loosened up a little bit.
Yeah, I think so for sure. And one of the issues, I think, and we talked about this on a prior cast as well, the team is very young. Yeah. And they really do miss a player like Alex Bregman, not necessarily just from the standpoint of what he brings on the field, but from the standpoint of what he brings to the clubhouse. And who's the leader on that team? Do you have any idea? I don't know. I can't pick it out.
Well, Contreras, and I think Story wants to be a leader, but
Contreras just got there. Like, how you can't lead a locker room when you just show up.
I know that's the limitation for him, and Story isn't playing well enough to lead.
Well, and he's also on the downside of his career, and he never was that great outside of Colorado anyway. So I just feel like that team really, they have the money. They could have kept Bregman and solved a lot of issues by doing so, I think. And I don't love Bregman as a player. I think he's fine.
No, and it wouldn't have been a statistical issue. It would have been a stabilizing issue. It would have been a clubhouse issue. And in my mind, it was valid in that mind. And some of the money was valid in that mind. Duran would like to be a leader on his team. Duran has his own struggles, and he's just starting to come into it a little bit. They've got the stupid Wally hat back on for the home runs. Stuff like that. The team is struggling to find. I know.
Find togetherness however you can.
Whatever works, right?
Right.
As long as the team wins and get together. But it's really interesting because we talk analytics all the time. It's really interesting how much personalities play into this and how much emotion plays into this.
It does 100%. And I could see by the end of the year, if Duran starts playing like he played in the WBC, I could see him becoming the leader of that team by the end of the year. But he is still pretty young. And as you discussed, he has had some issues that almost sort of supersede his ability to lead.
Yeah, he wasn't playing well enough to lead.
Well, there's that plus the stuff with the fans.
Well, he's good. He's good. In a lot of ways, that's what made him a leader before, when he was overcoming those issues to play well. He's not playing well, but now he's starting to put it together a little bit. So hopefully he can take over the team.
He's a great player. Watching him, it was for Mexico, right, that he played for.
he's capable. And
He's
you and I are
he's a
both.
very good player.
You both and I believe the Bill James theorem. Once a player demonstrates an ability, he owns it. He's capable of being a great player. I think he
barring
gets
something
a lot.
physical. Yeah, I'm right with you. I do want to mention one thing that to paraphrase Red in The Shawshank Redemption, you get busy learning and get busy dying. I always am kind of checking how I do things and rechecking and seeing if my process is correct.
Challenge your own concepts.
Right. So, when we talk about pitching, and we'll just jump to the end here just so I can get this out because I'll forget later. So we always talk about, the three pillars of starting pitching, where we're looking at, do you have control? Can you not walk the world? Right. Can you miss bats? And can you keep the ball in the ballpark, keep the ball on the ground?
Right.
So I've been examining that middle tenet with missing bats. And I want to amend that, I think, to can you control the decisions of the batter?
Interesting.
Because I think it's not just about missing bats, but it's also engendering chase, which helps you miss bats, but not always. So there's one pitcher in particular on here that we'll get to that it was helping me kind of reform my opinion there, that I don't want it to just be swinging strike rate and getting Ks. I don't think that's exactly what we're looking for. It's a great side benefit. Obviously for fantasy, that's what you want.
Yep.
But the genesis of what gets you there is really what, when we do statistical analysis, everybody just wants to look at the numbers that count.
Right.
But that's really not where it comes from. It comes from the skills. And if you can cause a batter to swing at pitches that they really wouldn't want to swing at if they were given a choice in a vacuum, that counts. That matters.
Well, can we redefine it from swing and miss to fooling?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Fooling the hitter, I think, is a better way to put it.
I was going to resist you in the beginning of that because I didn't wait long enough to get your entire point. I was going to resist you at the beginning of that because you didn't leave us with a statistic to look to try to figure this out. But chase rate would probably lead you to helping you figure this out, as opposed to swing and miss, more chase rate.
You'll see when we get to there's a guy out of the yeah. So anyway, just want to get that out now.
But I held my tongue and I didn't challenge you right off the start.
I can be a little long-winded.
No, it's fine because I just knew you were going to get where you needed to get.
Well, you have more faith than I do.
I had faith in you.
I appreciate that.
All right, let's start this. Unlucky hitters here. Let's talk with Michael Harris here. And Michael Harris, what I look at immediately, and it is about basically expected slugging, because I'm looking at is the quality contact is excellent this year. The results, less so. I mean, not less so, but
he's great.
He hasn't got what he deserved at this point.
Well, that's the thing, is that people will look at Michael Harris's year and think that maybe he's been lucky because he's hitting 306 and slugging 532, and he hasn't done that before. But the expected data is 337 and 654. So, whatever.
Yeah.
And the thing with Michael Harris is I know we talk about post prospect hype a lot. And I think that certainly still applies in Michael Harris's case because it feels like he's been around absolutely forever.
I know.
He's 25.
It's hard to believe he's just 25.
He's just coming into his prime.
Yep.
So for him to get this, and his max exit velocity has been 114 to 115 for 4 years in a row now.
As a kid.
So, that is a couple standard deviations above the norm. He's not in the Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Shohei Ohtani, O'Neal Cruz level. That's up around 120. That's the elite. But that mid 110s, that's the next level of power. So you think of Michael Harris and you think of a guy with kind of average power, and that's not the case at all. He has probably 60, 65 grade raw power. And if he is going to barrel as much as he's barreling this year, which is double what he did last year, roughly, I could see him hitting 30 homers. The problem with Michael Harris is still that he just cannot identify a ball or a strike. He just wants to swing at everything.
Yep. Chase
rate's like 45%. What are you doing, man? Any improvement there, and he would immediately become one of the better hitters in the league.
The walk rate reflects that too, at 4.9%. You want more out of a Michael Harris, especially with his speed.
You do, and the contact ability isn't.
But you want it more for his. You want it more for his slugging too, because again, it's about leveraging at bats. So be a little bit more selective.
It is, and his speed has declined a bit over the last handful of years. He's definitely bulked up a touch. Yeah. Bat speed is up another 3/4 of a mile an hour this year. He's top 30 in bat speed in the league, so that is top decile. So you want an idea of how hard he can swing versus how hard other guys swing. The evidence is right there. So, the average exit velocity is up almost 5 miles an hour this year. The contact rate, the swing strike percentage, it's still, he's nudging up against average contact ability now. Swing strike rate's down 1% this year, despite the chase rate still being just exorbitant. I feel like this could just be a hot streak, but the skill set, it's there. It's clearly there. Just a little bit better swing decisions, man. It's all I ask. Just a little more passivity, please.
It's a Vlad Guerrero type of recipe here because you want him to be more selective, but he doesn't strike out a ton, even though he chases. And so he's making contact, and he's making quality contact based on the numbers and the percentages. So you kind of have
to be better.
You kind of have to sit back and go, okay, kid, you do you.
The reason we talk about Vlad Sr. all the time is because there aren't any other guys like that.
Exactly.
Not many guys are hitting the ball with their shoe tops out of the park. So, just decide better. Get glasses. I don't know, whatever you got to do.
These are cold weather numbers too. Wait till they heat up in June.
Yeah, he has been in Atlanta, which warmed up earlier. But, I'm sure he's played some cold weather games.
So
I think he's a star in the making,
and he's about to take that leap, right? I mean, he's not at he's at 2,000 at bats, so he's not going to make a progress leap in terms of that. But physically, he's going to make his last adjustment. As you said, he's been bulking up, and he's not. We tend to consider him small, but 5'11", 195. That's what's listed. I mean, that's borderline small.
He's a little undersized, but look at the bat speed. I mean, that's more important than
he's big enough, and he's bulked enough. Yeah,
Jose Altuve can hit 30. Michael Harris can hit 45.
That's right.
So my thing with Harris, I think I wrote an article in April about him. Well, he was the headliner, and I think I wrote, "Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me 4 times," and that's how I feel about Michael Harris. Like every year, I think that this is finally going to be the time, because usually he starts bad and then gets hot in June or July, and I think, oh, here it is, and he just kind of piddles to the finish at 20 homers and 260 average. You're like, well, that was totally not awesome, but not terrible.
The only concern in my head at this point is if the power is starting to come in a little bit, and that's going to get him into the mid-20s, maybe even the high 20s for homers in certain periods, is the speed going to come along, or is we starting to lose the speed?
I don't know that we're losing the speed. I just think there's not much of an incentive to steal in that lineup.
Yeah.
Just if they all start hitting, that's a really good lineup once everybody's healthy. And I don't see the need for him to be running so much. I don't know. I mean, I look at the defensive statistics, and, he's still very much a plus defender. So I don't think the athleticism has declined to any major amount.
Yeah.
I feel like he's fine. If he steals 10 bases, that'll probably be about where my expectation sits.
Okay, we're way behind schedule here. Let's get to Juan Soto with his 4 homers and 77 at bats. Not what we're looking for from Juan Soto.
4 homers because he hit one last night, because that always happens when I put a list together, is that all of a sudden everybody gets hot on there. Soto, the launch angle's up a couple degrees to a career high. Expected by StatCast, 298 average, which is kind of right on. 625 slugging, and I think he just jumped over 500 with that homer last night. He was at 479 when I did the notes on this yesterday during the day. Bat speed is up. The exit velocity is down a touch. But notably, he's been much more aggressive at the plate this year. The swing rate's up over 6%. Chase is up 7%. And for Soto, he does not chase. Like, he has almost a supernatural ability to determine balls and strikes. So I think he's been pressing a bit. That Mets team, there is something wrong with it.
Yeah.
The pitching has just not been there. The batting order has just been complete garbage. I think they're starting to play a little better now. And I expect Soto he'll be just fine at the end of the year. But the one thing, and this is something that I said in the preseason to anyone who would listen, I don't know how he stole 30-some bases last year, but you got to be kidding me if he'll steal half that many this year. And he's on pace for 6, maybe.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that was. He had an out-of-body experience for 12 months or whatever, but there's no way. That dude is not fast.
New contract year. It's funny. What are your insights in terms of him? Because major markets are different, and I don't think he was particularly comfortable with the Yankees, and he's probably not very comfortable with the Mets, given the load that he's taken on in terms of being a leader of the Mets and being the most expensive Met out there.
He's an interesting cat. I actually thought that he was very comfortable with the Yankees because he didn't have to be the focal point.
Right.
That was going to be Judge. So he, in my mind, I'm generally pretty good about removing my emotions from stuff like this.
Right.
I think he should have stayed. They would have paid him almost as much. I mean, Cohen's just got bags and bags of money that Steinbrenners aren't going to match, which is what happened. But I think in the end, I think he'll probably tarnish his legacy a bit. You know, Lou Gehrig was a pretty good player. And he just sat there with Babe Ruth for a handful of years, and then it became his team, and everything was fine, and he's an Inner Circle Hall of Famer. Aaron Judge is like 7 years older than Juan Soto.
Right.
So the same thing could have happened, and he would have been fine. And he wouldn't have had to deal with all the questions and all the nonsense. Like he has a calf injury, he misses 3 or 4 weeks, and everybody's all over him. Like, look, man, you want this to recur all year? Don't be stupid. It's April.
And
the Mets aren't out of it. The Mets aren't out of it. It's too early to be out of it.
Right. Well, I don't know.
But I think he should have stayed with the Yankees. I think it would have benefited him because as much as he is sort of emotional on the field, I don't think that he enjoys being the center of attention often.
Right. No, I don't think he does. So it was good. You're right. Him sitting in the role he sat with the Yankees, not being the lead horse, probably was good for him.
I think it was wonderful. I mean, and you were not even taking into consideration the lineup protection that Aaron Judge provides behind you.
True. Dillion Dingler, what's going on with the catching position? It's become the new outfield. The outfield sucks, and the catching position is getting better and better.
I love it. There's catchers everywhere. And then they spring up like 2 more last week. Jesus Rodriguez and Joe Mack. Like all of a sudden we just catchers galore.
Now the question isn't finding a catcher. The question is selecting a catcher.
It is. And we have 3 of them on this short list, which is pretty funny. But, what are you going to do? Dillion Dingler, I'm impressed. The exit velocity is going from high 89s to 90 last year to 90.7 this year, which is solidly above average.
Yep.
The expected by StatCast is an average of 317 and 610 slugging. Like he's way under that at 257 and 486. The fly ball pull percentages are both up quite a bit, which is going to hamper the average part of it, but it shouldn't hamper the slugging at all. So I'm surprised that he's been this low, and I can only attribute that, particular teams like Detroit, Milwaukee, Milwaukee less so at the roof, Cleveland, these northern cities without retractable roofs in April, you can definitely get a lack of carry on the ball until the weather warms up, which it still has yet to do for more than a day or 2 at a time. So I think that may be as much to explain as anything for hitters that reside in those cities for their home games. The swing and strike rate is the thing that I think is best describing Dillion Dingler's career arc right now, because he's going from 13, solidly below average, 11.2, right around average last year. He's down to 9% swing strike rate this year, which is solidly above average. Chase rate's still pretty mediocre, but clearly if you can have this progression in swing strike rate, you are a decent contact bat. And now you've got above average contact and above average exit velocity from a guy playing the catching position. Not as valuable as it used to be because that seems to be just growing on trees at this point. But I like Dillion Dingler. He's just 27 this year in his prime. I think he's a good player.
I always laugh about nurses who smoke, and I always laugh about catchers who have no zone control. How does that work?
It is sort of ridiculous, right? But there's guys like this that they can't help themselves.
And how do you clean up your swinging strike rate that well without the chase rate improving all that much?
Contacts, LASIK, I don't know. I've said for 15 years that I think that LASIK is a greater performance enhancer than steroids.
Interesting.
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
What is the most important thing for a hitter in baseball? Being able to hit the freaking ball.
Being able to hit the ball, yeah.
So if you can see it better, you can ostensibly hit it better. I think it's the biggest performance enhancer there is.
Even for
no one wants to hear that argument.
Even for just picking up spin.
Of course. course.
And
Yes.
recognizing which pitch is which.
Yes.
Because especially with pitchers tunneling as well as they are these days.
Right, because people talk about the use of steroids, and they say that, well, it's allowing your body to heal at an unnaturally fast clip. And I said, all right, well, my eyesight, I'm practically blind now without my glasses past 5 or 6 feet. So if I all of a sudden have this surgery and restore my vision to 20/20, that seems a bit unnatural to me.
True. It's a performance enhancer. It absolutely is.
Of course it is.
So where does he land on home runs? Because I love this kid.
What's he got now? I didn't even write that down.
He's at 6. And
I
most
think
of the
20
rest of the season projections are about 12, which would get him just under 20.
No, I say 20 to 25.
I know, and he's doing it in Detroit in the cold.
Yes, that's why. Yep.
He's running it in June and July too.
Yeah, I think 20s is definitely possible. I mean, look at the launch angle difference. Look at the exit velocity difference. Look at the contact difference. All of these things are better. So why would you just if we're improving, why are we reverting to old data?
Only 632 at bats into his major league career too. Although he's a little bit older, so he has some experience.
Right. But as we know, there's a lot more spin up at the top level than there is below. So.
Yep. All right, Will Smith, another catcher out in Los Angeles, only 3 home runs at this point.
Will Smith exiting his prime at 31, other end of the age curve here, but expected 279, 505, actual 269, 385. Now that's a pretty big difference between a quality bat and a very average catcher at this point. Bat speed and the exit velocity are average, but Will Smith has always gotten his power from elevating the ball, not from massive bat speed, massive exit velocities. Ground ball rate's very low, so the launch angle is still present. He just hasn't been hitting the ball out of the park. Chase rate's excellent, 5.5% swing strike rate. He's always been a very good contact hitter, but this is a career low. This is phenomenal. So really disappointing, and I think a lot of this is good fortune. Will Smith, still a very, very good catcher. I'm not sure that he's top 5 at the position anymore, but he's certainly like top 8. Still a very, very good hitter, and I'm sure that he has a couple good years left at least. I mean, projecting any catcher past age 33, 34, 35 is just a fool's errand. But, I still think Will Smith's got a couple good years left in him. The problem here is that Dalton Rushing, as much of an ass as he seems to be a pretty darn good baseball player too. So he will probably start to eat into Will Smith's playing time quite a bit as this year goes on, and certainly over the next couple. So you've already got Ohtani occupying the DH slot so much they can't really hide anybody there. I think it's going to be a problem, and a deal is probably best suited for the Dodgers. Like, they need more stuff, but
Well, and we often resist reducing everything down to one stat, but home run and fly ball rate seems to be the key stat here.
It seems low, which is funny because Dodger Stadium, for all the play that it gets as a pitchers-based ballpark, there are home runs there. Like that's a plus park for homers. It's a minus park for everything else offensive. So it's just weird that Smith hasn't gotten the benefit of that yet with his launch angle, average exit velocity, and contact ability. I just think that that's just sort of an aberration. I think that'll even out as the season goes on.
Yeah, this is what we're looking for. We're 100 at bats in, and his rate is about half what his normal home run and fly ball rate at. And again, we hate to reduce it to single effect, but that's kind of tells the story at this point because everything else seems to be okay.
Yeah.
Or
as expected, really, except maybe even a little better.
Better way to put it, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, he probably should have 5 or 6. Again, this time of the year, we're talking a difference of like 2 homers. And again, he goes out today or tomorrow and goes 3 for 4 with 2 homers, and all of a sudden we're right back on schedule. So it's still very early.
All right. Describe Ketel Marte for me, because I don't know whether he's disappointing. I don't know whether he's underperforming. I don't know if he's performing well, but not as well as he could. He's that type of player. He's always an enigma. What's going on with Ketel Marte?
Ketel Marte, I thought 7 years ago was going to be a Hall of Famer. I thought he was a wonderful player with a clear five tool set, and he could have played just about any position on the field. And he hasn't really been disappointing, except to me, who had such high expectations. He's been a very good player at times, star of a team at times. And here he is at 32. The first thing I'll say about Ketel
Another
Marte, which
stunning
was
number, by the way.
what's that?
Another stunning number. Hard to believe he's 32 already.
Wow, I mean, he's been around for what, 12
I
years,
know.
I think.
I know.
I mean, I remember him coming up with the Mariners, and he was my buddy Will Soxie just absolutely loved it. Said, "Oh, this kid's going to be great." And I started watching him, and I agreed with him 100%. And he has been really good at times. One thing I'll say about Ketel Marte, which is not necessarily unique to players from warm climates, is that his career, and keep in mind, this is more than 10 years of play, his career ops in April is his lowest month by 30 points.
Yeah. So
a 725 ops for his career in April. Where is he at right now? Like 670. So it's a subpar one even for him. But I really think he's fine. His max exit velocity is among the leaders at 117 in the last 4 years. That is top 25, probably top 20. Like, this kid has a lot of power for not a very big guy. The average exit velocity, 92.8, second best of his career so far. Statcast expected data, 303, 482 slugging, because a lot of line drives and a low fly ball rate so far this year, unusual for him. The thing that I think is hampering him the most is a 60% pull percentage, which is really, really high for him. Swing strike rate also is the worst of his career by quite a bit. It's 3% higher this year, and the chase rate's 11% higher this year. He's not a big chaser normally, so he's been abnormally aggressive, swinging and missing more as a result, pulling the ball a ton. Just seems like his timing is off a little bit to me. I mean, the 60% pull rate would tell you that on its own, but then the chase and the swing strike rate, like, he's just a little off. He hates the cold. I'm not overly concerned. Second basemen tend to age worse than most positions. So there is mild concern, I guess. But I really, in the end, I think he's going to be just fine. I think
he plays
we get to Memorial Day, everything will be fine.
He plays in Arizona in the NL West. He doesn't see a lot of cold.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of division games this early.
I know. I think it's just a ramp up as much as anything else at this point. And I also think that when he hit the 36 homers in 2024, I think it kind of changed his personality and what he thought his role was and who he should be. I think it's changed him up a little bit.
Well, but he's not elevating the ball, though.
Yeah.
His launch angle's down a ton this year.
Doesn't mean he doesn't want to. Yeah.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's going to be fine. He's always a slow starter.
Trent Grisham, another guy that we have to figure out a little bit. 34 home runs last year. It just came out of nowhere, or did it?
But did it?
Yeah.
Trent Grisham is, I think, still a very underrated player. First of all, anybody at the major league level that can walk more than they strike out is a force to be reckoned with at the plate, particularly when they can hit the ball as hard as Trent Grisham hits the ball.
And his exit velocity lineup needs more than the Yankees lineup.
Well, he's an interesting guy to be batting leadoff. I don't think that I would do that.
No.
I would probably lead off Ben Rice.
Yeah, I agree, because I mean, we've talked about this for years. I've been saying this for years. You put your best hitters up at the top of the order, 1 and 2.
You do. And Trent Grisham is a very good hitter.
Oh, he's a very good hitter. But I want Ben Rice and Judge up 1 and 2. Get them the extra 50 at bats a year.
As do I.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. Well, I see what Boone is getting at.
Get him
Grisham probably
in the ninth inning. Get him the rotation. The order rotates 3 or 4 times anyway, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe 5 times.
Yeah, so really enough once.
Yeah, so you're gonna have your setup guys on there for him. Just construct your lineup that way. But again, get these guys their extra at bats, because that's who they're going to produce for you.
I would bat him 5th or 6th, but I see what Boone's getting at, because Grisham sees about as many pitches per plate appearance as anybody in baseball.
Yeah.
So yeah, you like that. The more pitches you can see, the more pitches everybody sees, the better off you are. I get it from that standpoint. So it's not a terrible decision. It's just probably not what I would do. Expected 240, 481, actual 170, 366. Pretty significant. 54% fly ball. But the thing that always, we talk about the first pillar of hitting. Can you figure out what to swing at? 14% chase rate. Can you then make contact with the ball? 4.5% swing strike rate.
Yeah.
Trent Grisham is terrific at the first two things. He's pretty good at the third thing and doing damage when he hits the ball. The huge fly ball and moderately big pull rate, that gives you the pretty low batting average. But in OBP based formats, that doesn't even matter because Trent Grisham's going to walk so much that the OBP is going to be just fine. He is going to slug. He's going to score a ton of runs in that lineup. He's going to knock in runs because the lineup is pretty strong top to bottom. Trent Grisham, great player, very underrated, 29 years old, still in his prime. I think he's, like I said, totally underrated player.
No red flags here. Just stay the course because he's going to get it going.
Stay the course. At any time you got somebody still on the interstate in the second week of May, end of the first week of May, people are going to be concerned.
Yeah.
But he's not a batting average help. It's not the way he's designed to be. So traditional 5x5 players, you have to downgrade Trent Grisham a bit on that level. But I'd like to think that most of us have become enlightened enough to actually value walks, which is why traditional roto is dumb, among many other reasons.
Yep.
I have to get that in. I'm contractually obligated.
I know. I understand.
So, I mean, he's just a very, very good baseball player that happens to not hit for a high average.
How many times during the course of the week when we're talking baseball do we come into the vintage versus modern argument?
It still happens every day.
Roto is a vintage concept, and it really needs to be modernized.
I would love for some enterprising poor organization, and I'm looking at you two Florida teams, to just take people, not necessarily me, but take people like me and just put us in charge, see what happens. Oh, I mean, they did that with Theo Epstein, and the world championships to be had. So you got to be crazy if you are going to completely discount this at this point. And yes, Jeff Fry, I'm looking at you. I don't understand why you can't just say, all right, there is room for all knowledge in the game, not just the knowledge that I happen to like. But that's pervasive all throughout our society at this point. It's like, if I don't like it, it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
It's just stupid.
Preferred outcomes.
Right.
We don't want to be right. We want to be right.
Closed-minded is what I would call it.
All right. Tyler Stevenson is a great example of what we're talking about here, because if I put my thumb over his results stats and looked at his quality of contact, I'd think they were two different players we were talking about.
Because they are.
Yeah.
Tyler Stevenson is the guy that I forget who we were. I think we might have been talking about Cal Raleigh. And I was like, there is a non-zero chance that Tyler Stevenson outperforms Cal Raleigh this year because their quality contact stats, their ability to make contact, their strike zone discipline, like all of that is pretty equivalent. And Stevenson has a much better home park to hit in. I mean, yes, Raleigh will be more valuable because he's going to get significantly more playing time if neither one of them gets hurt.
Right.
Because the Reds have enough other options and don't value Stevenson enough to have him be the DH every time he's not catching, where the Mariners don't and do, respectively. So, Stevenson, exit velocity 93, that's up 4 years in a row. Lots of fly balls, but not a ton of pull. That's probably part of the problem, in addition to the fact that Cincinnati's weather has not been ideal to start the season. So we're not seeing the normal Great American Ballpark boost to this point. Chase rate's down another 5%. He's under 20 now. And the swing strike rate's 11, which is pretty much solidly league average. So he's an average contact bat with good plate discipline, good power in a good ballpark. I mean, I'm sorry, but this guy's a good catcher. He's very underrated. Expected data, 225, 437. It's the huge fly ball rate that keeps that batting average suppressed. And actual's been 195 and 310, and that's just preposterous. That will improve.
We're still early enough in the season, and we're talking about weather and switching over as we get to the dog days, that we have to review the principle that the weather does not affect exit velocity, it affects carry.
Correct.
Which is why we're looking at exit velocity as opposed to home run to fly ball rate. And when we see a low home run to fly ball rate, that's when we can start to pin things on weather a little bit, because it doesn't show up in exit velocity, it shows up in home run to fly ball rate.
It's the classic in honor of the recently departed John Sterling.
Yeah,
it's where all the it is high, it is far, it is caught at the wall. Susan, how did that not get out? That's April baseball.
Just a word on
baseball, Susan.
Just a word on John Sterling, because being a broadcaster forever, and you and I are Northeast fans, and we've lived with John Sterling for a long period of time. He got so caught up in the whole catchphrases and the home runs, but he was a quality broadcaster around that. That kind of became a thing, but it wasn't all he was.
It's funny. I was so used to Scooter and Kenny Singleton and
Yeah.
those guys as I went through the late 70s and 80s and
All right.
early 90s. And, it took me a long time to warm up to John Sterling. But it did get to the point for the last 10 or 15 years where I would have the game on the TV and mute it and have the radio playing the broadcast as well. And when Sterling stopped doing games, I stopped doing that because I greatly prefer Michael Kay, who used to be his partner.
Yep.
Paul O'Neill, I think, is very good, but David Cohn is perhaps the gold standard of analysts at this point on TV. He's just fantastic.
I was going to say, one of the accolades you have to put on John Sterling is he worked with Susan Waldman for so long.
I don't hate Susan Waldman. I don't even dislike her as much as I used to. I still just, it might be the voice as much as anything. And, I'm the last guy to be talking about somebody's voice. I've got a voice for TV and a face for radio, but it just irks me a little bit. And I have nothing against Dave Sims. He's a perfectly good announcer, but I love David Cohn. The days that he's on, it's not quite as great, but Michael Kay is a good play-by-play guy.
Yep.
Their TV is just better than their radio now, I think. And that was not the case for a very long time because of John Sterling.
Yep. John Sterling just had that voice. You wanted it on in the summer. You wanted it while you're at the grill.
It's just butter, man. That voice was butter.
As much as we made fun of him, as much as we had fun with him up here in Boston, we loved him too. So.
Oh, just everybody had a nickname, and just it is high, it is. He was sort of a caricature, but I think all of the good announcers, except for Vin Scully, who is on a platform of his own at the top, all of the good announcers had their little shtick, I think, and that's whatever. It's part of home radio.
A couple of the Red Sox announcers up here on it, Sterling, over the course of the weekend with some Sterling-like calls on home runs, and then
I love it. That's great.
And then when the Red Sox won, the Red Sox won. So
I love it.
Just honoring, it was a great job. It was.
The guy he was in the business for so long, and he was so respected by countless people. It's great to see the tributes.
All right, I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I'll get in trouble and I'll take it because I'm watching a lot of broadcasts, and there's a lot of women involved in broadcasts, and they do fine for color. They do fine on sideline, things like that. You can't have a woman doing play-by-play, and you know why? Because it triggers men. When women get excited, men get triggered.
Why is that?
I don't know.
I don't either.
When your wife gets excited, do you get triggered?
No.
No?
Why would I do that?
No? Okay.
No. But I'm classic. I'm constantly miscategorized as liberal, so.
Oh. Okay.
Because I'm open-minded, I guess. I don't know.
No, that
seems to be what it is.
This isn't a liberal conservative thing. This is a male-female thing.
I don't know. I when my wife is excited, I'm happy because that means there's no unhappiness coming. Why would everybody not feel that way?
Well, because sometimes when women get excited, they're not happy.
Maybe excited doesn't mean what I think it means.
Yeah, and just thinking raising their voice, I think, is more what I was getting at.
My wife and I are both generally happy people.
Yeah.
So I think that perhaps that might not apply to the universe at large. Maybe. I don't know.
All right. Send your cards and letters to me at insiderbaseball.com.
You can hit me. It's fine.
Yeah.
I can take it.
That's fine. Okay. So Marcel Ozuna is floating around, and I love Marcel Ozuna. He's a guy that I always tend to roster because people pass him up. You can get him at a very low price because he only has he's older and he only has the DH label for him. And I'm sitting here with some home run problems on a couple of my rosters, and he's sitting around. Should I be looking at Marcel Ozuna?
No.
Okay, tell me why.
35 years old, exit velocity's down 3 1/3 miles an hour the last 2 years. The bat speed's still pretty good. The chase is still pretty good. The contact ability is roughly average. He's hitting the ball in the air a lot. But number one, clearly the power is sapping.
Yep.
Number two, it's not a great park. He moved to a pretty poor park. And number three, most importantly, he's only utility eligible. So you really need a hitter there. And as much as I, at times, have loved having Marcel Ozuna over the years, I think we're getting close to the end of the road here.
I don't think he can provide the counting numbers that he could in Atlanta, in Pittsburgh either, especially at his current state of
Well,
proficiency.
I mean, Atlanta's a top 5 offense. Pittsburgh is improving, and maybe they're a top half offense this year. But he has declined too. So I feel like, the expected data that we see, 225 average, 407 slugging, I actually think he'll outperform that by the end of the year. But if he hits 240 and slugs 430 with 20 homers from a utility spot, is that worth it?
No.
I don't think it is.
No, you can't take 20 homers from a utility slot. It's too confining.
Well, you can if it's accompanied by like a 290 average and a bunch of steals, but you ain't getting that. So
or 90 and 90 or 85 and 85, and you're not going to get that either.
No, I mean, you could get 85 RBIs, maybe outside chance, but I'm just not seeing it anymore here. Mid 30s and a 2-year downward trend in quality of contact. I just am not seeing it.
All right, let's go to the pitching side. And let's do a little summary on what we're looking at when we're looking at unlucky pitchers on the pitching side statistically.
Well, I not only took the xERA like we talked about, but I also took the xFIP because I feel like sometimes some guys are shorted via xERA, and a combination of the two, I think, as we'll see with the third guy on this list, is a more appropriate measure to, in fact, even add in Sierra into the mix and combine the three, and I think you'll get a good, real expected ERA versus actual ERA, and then compare those two.
And I think xFIP is important at this time of year because it kind of equalizes the weather aspects and the early season aspects and tries to give you a better idea of how well he's performing when that's normalized.
Sure, because you could easily have a Colorado start mixed in there that just kind of throws things off a little bit, and the xERA will capture that.
All right, Reid Detmers is where we start, and Detmers is a guy who had a pretty good year last year. We were looking for a little bit more from him this year than we've seen, but this is small samples, 7 starts here. It only takes 1 or 2 bad starts to really skew this.
It does. There's evidence by Jose Soriano, who the White Sox apparently have his number. He had 2 poor starts against them, and all of a sudden nobody's talking about him anymore.
I know.
We'll see in his next start how that plays out. It could just be a one-team thing. Every pitcher, even the best, go through rough patches. And most pitchers have a team or two that just kind of see him a little better for whatever reason. So
you brought him up, and people are on the fence here at this point because, unlike the outfield, of course, there are starting pitchers floating around too. There are options out there.
Fewer every day, though.
He's true. Are you moving off Soriano? Or are you
no. The skill set. Nothing is untrue about what I said in the preseason, where any improvement in control with the other things that he can do makes him an ace-level pitcher. The control, when it's there, he's phenomenal. When it's not, he's iffy. So at worst, he's a back-end starter. At best, he's a number 1 starter. Yeah. And we've seen both so far this year. So no, I'm not out on him at all. If anything, he might be a little buy low target right now because I think we'll see more of the first 5 and less of the last 2 as we move forward. My opinion.
Reid Detmers, 4.28 ERA in his 7 starts so far, 2.81 xERA and 3.55 xFIP.
Which segues very nicely into Reid Detmers because he's another guy who has had very sketchy control throughout his career, where any improvement in control would be magnified because of his ability to miss bats. And what have we seen this year through 7 starts? He's gone from 3.5 walks per 9 to 2 walks per 9.
Yep.
And lo and behold, the underlying data has been better, but the ERA has only been 4.25. So exit velocity's down, launch angle's up, velo's back to his 2024 levels, which is still fine. Swing strike rate obviously down also a little bit, but it's still 13% with a high chase rate, still very good. He misses plenty of bats, or should we say influences fools hitters.
Right.
The xFIP of 355, xERA of 282. I think a mid-3s ERA is probably warranted for him the rest of the way. I think he's a solid mid-rotation starter. And there's a little bit of upside, honestly. If this control level can be reinforced with another handful of starts, I think he could be kind of a high-end number 3 starter in 12-team leagues.
Mid-3s ERA, it seems like a high expectation.
It's what all the underlying says.
Yeah.
If he can keep this control, if he can walk 2 guys per 9, I don't see any reason he can't achieve that.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? And we've talked about our 3 pillars of starting pitching, and walks being the most important one. When you see gains in control, and I think there's a major emphasis on limiting walks in organizationally across Major League Baseball at this point. If pitchers can get good at it, it changes the game considerably.
Yeah, when it's why somebody like Bubba Chandler is borderline droppable, because his stuff is outstanding and he keeps the ball down. But man, you cannot be walking like 7 guys per 9. People can hit the ball. No matter how good you are, you're not that good.
Yep. And they can hit the ball out. And again, a lot of those walks turn into runners in scoring position with the steal rate the way it's been.
Or a couple bloops.
Yep.
An infield hit or 2, which I've seen him give up a bunch of infield hits this year because his stuff is so nasty. 2 walks, a bloop, and an infield hit, and then a sac fly, and all of a sudden it's 3-0, and you're like, well, what happened? Nobody hit the ball. Well, throw it in the strike zone, man.
It's like 1975 all over again.
These guys are so good that it can look like that at times.
Yeah, and it really can come unraveled just that quickly.
100%.
Yeah, you got to limit your walks, and we're back to Jesus Luzardo. We do Jesus Luzardo every week.
Well, if we're talking about unlucky pitchers, sure we do. There probably has been no single pitcher more unlucky than Jesus Luzardo this year. 5.09 ERA, 2.43 xFIP, 3.16 xERA. Both of those would probably put him comfortably in the top 20 pitchers, which I feel he's a number 2 starter. So that would put him between 13 and 24. I think that makes sense to me. Control is a career best. Ground ball rate's a career best. The exit velocity is a career best. The velocity has been up 2 years in a row. Chase is a career best. The swing strike rate's a career best. So he has a 5 ERA naturally because none of that makes sense.
Quality of contact is a career best almost across the board.
Yeah, but somehow there's a 370 BABIP. So you know what? Whatever. It's luck. This is like entirely luck.
And when we think about luck with starting pitching, we look at home run to fly ball rate, and we look at left on base percentage, all of which are kind of in line. It's not.
Look at the BABIP though.
Oh no, I understand. Yeah.
With such a very low exit velocity allowed, how does a 368 BABIP come into the equation?
I don't know.
Yeah, it shouldn't. So it's luck. I mean, Occam's razor, man. Simplest explanation is the correct one. And if everything you're doing is at your career best, yet your ERA is a 5.10, there's 1 number versus 5 numbers. I'm going to weight the 5 numbers. So yeah, buy Jesus Luzardo everywhere, anywhere, all the time.
Just go big, right?
I would value him like starting pitcher number 17.
All right, Renato Lopez is on this list as well.
No, that's Jacob Lopez.
Jacob Lopez, okay.
Which this illustrates the differential and why I mentioned using a couple different ERA metrics. Because by StatCast, he's at 3.45 xERA, which is a very good, like number 3, maybe number 4 starter in 12-team formats.
Yep.
His xFIP is 6.18, and his actual ERA is 6.60, and his walks per 9 is 6.60. So, first of all, if you're walking more than 4 men per 9, you better be really, really dominant.
Yep.
If you're walking more than 5 men per 9, I am not interested. So I'm not interested. He has a low ground ball rate, also bad. Low exit velocity allowed, below 86 miles an hour. That's very good. But the chase and the swing strike rate are way down. He's 0 for 6 in quality starts, mostly because he can't be efficient enough pitch-wise to get through the 6th inning, even when he's doing okay. So last year I was in until he got hurt. I thought that he was really kind of underrated. This control problem, this reeks of something actually physically wrong. So I'm just out. I'm not interested 1 iota.
You can't have a 6.6 walk rate and a 6.9 strikeout rate. It doesn't work in the major leagues.
You can't for very long.
Especially if you're only throwing 33% on the ground. You can't do that.
He'll be back at Modesto or wherever I don't know where their AAA team is anymore because they move around so much. But That's
And
their A team, I think.
and this is a mark. I'll put this on him because it's something I believe in. Tampa Bay gave up on him.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, but they also don't know what to do with Griffin Jack, so they don't get a
Yes.
free pass anymore.
No, they're off the list.
They're further down the list. I don't know who's on the list anymore. Nobody's on the list.
That's true.
Even the Astros aren't on the list anymore, although Peter Lambert looks okay, so maybe they're still on the list.
It's pretty interesting numbers, though, because, all right, so let's talk a little bit, explain a little bit the difference between xERA, xFIP, and Sierra.
Well,
because they're all over the map with this guy.
xFIP is merely normalizing the home run rate. That's basically all it does.
Yep.
So if that just means to me that he's not being victimized that way. The xERA is looking at all hit balls and the probability of all of them basically landing as hits. So, yes.
Take into account the walks, the runners he's putting on base via walk.
The xERA is probably a more appropriate measure in a vacuum. But I'm going to pull up Sierra, which I didn't look at. I didn't write it down anyway.
Yeah.
But when you look at the Sierra, which is 595, when two of the metrics agree and the other one is an outlier, I tend to weight the two because they all are looking at sort of different things that aren't always represented. And I mean, actual ERA is, I hate saying it this way, but actual ERA is entirely luck.
Yes.
And the metrics are measuring your skill set.
Well, we've talked about this, and it was at least a couple of years ago. I don't know where it's been this year because I haven't taken a look at the repeatability of stats, the predictability of stats at this point. But last year, at least, ERA was less predictable than wins for pitchers.
And we know how unpredictable those are.
Because all it takes is, as you've mentioned a couple of times, all it takes is a Colorado stat to really throw someone off in terms of the ERA. Throw it off 2/10 of a run, 0.3 of a run, half a run.
Either that, or I watched a Nolan McLean start earlier this year where he gave up 4 infield hits in 2 innings.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, those are the balls you're trying to get people to hit. And when they hit them in their hits, like, what do you do? Well, I mean, your job as a pitcher is to induce weak ground balls, weak pop-ups, and miss bats. And if you do all 3 and give up 5 runs in 5 innings, you throw your hands up and say, well, that was luck.
So the role of xFIP is to normalize home run to fly ball rate.
Mm-hmm.
Give us an idea what he's doing outside of that. And then xERA is basically dealing with quality of contact and what the ERA should be expected. So it doesn't really take into account his control.
Right, which is the problem because it's actually the primary problem. 6+ walks per 9, unless you're striking out every batter you don't walk.
Nowadays, I don't want to. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm dealing with a cold at this point. I don't want to deal with that. That's too many walks. It's way too many walks.
Well, like I said, anything over 5 per 9, I'm just out.
All right, Matthew Boyd. Kind of interesting because I'd cut Matthew Boyd last week because I kind of had to because we have a limit on the amount of starting pitchers we can keep, and then he was picked up by a rival, so I was upset, and then he got hurt. So,
did you see how he got hurt?
No.
He had knelt on the floor to play with his kids, and he got up and tore his meniscus. Athletes, they're just like us.
Yep.
35 years old was probably the problem there. But, torn meniscus, I have had one. I've had it repaired. You can play with it, depending on how torn it is. I had a cortisone shot in mine and played 8 straight days of golf with a knee sleeve, and it was fine. Yes, golf is not baseball, but the torque is somewhat similar. I wasn't running, but, you don't have to run if you're a pitcher. I think that he's probably out till August at a minimum. It depends on how torn it is. Once they get in there, they'll see. Before that, 2.25 walks, 11.6 Ks, career best chase and swing strike rate. xFIP was 268. xERA was 415. His ERA was 6. He was very, very unlucky. I thought he looked very good in all starts but one that I watched of his, and I think I watched 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
This is just really, really unfortunate because I am a big Matthew Boyd fan. He's totally reinvented himself multiple times throughout his career. I really like him as a player. Awful injury for him because he was on a team that will contend for the NL crown. So I hope he gets back and I hope he's successful as early as possible. But for now, he's droppable in almost all formats.
To find him, though, I mean, obviously with the knee injury, it may redefine him again. But to find him, because if you look at just the last 4 years, he's almost been 4 different pitchers. So what is he at this point?
He just seems like he's reinventing himself by the year.
Yeah,
he has shown just massive velocity moves at times. I think it was the 23 year where I was all over him in the preseason because he was showing more velocity than he'd ever shown, even when he was a reliever. He was up in 94, 95 range every single spring training start. And then it just didn't carry through the regular season, but he was still reasonably successful at times. Wrigley, I thought would be a problem for him in the summertime a bit. I probably would have just treated him as a streamer anyway. And if he comes back and looks okay, I will likely still do that. But yeah, I mean, he's just been very malleable over the years. Just a really kind of cerebral pitcher, he seems to me. I feel terrible for him, really.
Yeah, I know. But that ability to be adaptable makes him a quality pitcher because he can find ways to make do with whatever it is he's dealing with at the time.
It certainly seems that he just goes with whatever's working, and more often than not has been successful with it. I mean, crafty veteran, his stuff's a little too good for that, I think, but the label might fit.
All right, Emmett Sheehan with a 5.23 ERA, 4.30 xERA, 3.12 xFIP.
Exit velocity is down to better than average. 2.6 walks, 10.5 Ks, ground ball rates up 9%. All these things are fantastic. He's doing it with a lot less velocity this year, which is something I've noticed. I think that teams are making a conscious effort to have guys not be max effort all the time.
Yes.
Doesn't seem to be helping the health at any level at all, really. But he's doing this.
They're emphasizing, I think the emphasis in Major League Baseball, this is where control has come in the last couple of years. I think the emphasis in Major League Baseball is get into the sixth inning. Got to get into the sixth inning because I think teams have been, and I think what this is eventually leading to is an extra roster spot for a reliever. But I think teams are trying to save their bullpens because they just get worn out by July.
Which is hilarious to me that the Yankees are finally doing something that I perceive to be smart. And they cut a pitcher and brought up another hitter. So they're only going with 12 pitchers.
Yeah.
Which 12 pitchers, honestly, it's plenty. Okay. You're not in Stratomatic here where you have an innings limit for every guy.
Right.
They've got guys like Paul Blackburn and Ryan Yarbrough. Take one for the team, boys. You can go out there for 3 or 4 innings in a game that's out of reach.
Yep.
Just pitch until the game gets within 3 runs or whatever, either side, and then we'll see what we've got. But when you've got 2 former starters, swingmen in your bullpen, why in God's name would you have a 13th pitcher on the staff? It's just stupid.
I know, but a lot of people can't afford to do that. Have 2 bulk guys in the bullpen.
You could do that.
Yeah.
They all could definitely do that. There's a million quad A starters down there that you could just bring up and have. All right, you're the mop-up guy. I mean, remember when they had mop-up guys?
Yeah.
Now you've got like 8 guys out there that throw 120 miles an hour. And you're trying to mix and match for 5 innings every start. No, why? The advancements in the game, most of them are really, really beneficial. You might not like them. Traditionalists mostly certainly do not, but they've made teams better.
Yeah.
That one, I don't think it's made teams better. Because how many times late in the game do you want to pitch hit for your one weaker hitter and the cupboard is bare, Mother Hubbard?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I just looking at the Red Sox from this end, it's like they have the 7th, they have the 8th and the 9th locked down. It's the 6th and 7th of the problems. They've got to get starters into the 6th at this point because they just don't have anyone to throw at that point.
Well, and they have a couple guys that are control challenged that just have a really difficult time getting past the 5th.
Yeah, and I think over the last few years that bullpen has just been worn out by the time we get to the end of the summer.
Yep, but and that's what the Yankees do. The Yankees do this well, is that they keep 2 or 3 guys that have options, and they've got another 2 or 3 guys down at Scranton.
Yes,
and they just kind of keep cycling them back and forth, and ride the hot hand for a bit. One guy gets tired, you send him down, let him rest for a couple of days, bring somebody else up.
That's what we've seen in the last few years is just shuffling guys between AAA and the majors when you need a fresh arm up there, which is fine. I would much rather see him at a reliever spot and just let teams take another
I
reliever.
feel like we're heading that way, but I really don't think it's necessary. I mean, we go back 40 years and guys were cycling up pinch hitters and fifth outfielders. Now we're cycling up eighth relievers.
Yeah.
It just doesn't even sound right to me.
Where were we? Emmett Sheehan.
Emmett Sheehan. Yeah, I mean, swing strike rate's steady at 15.5%. The chase rate's up 3 points despite the lesser velocity. So I'm not concerned as far as that goes at all. xFIP 312, xERA 430, actual ERA 523. I think he's actually been very good. Perfectly happy with Emmett Sheehan as a back-end starting pitcher. I'm not even sure I would stream him. I think I'm just going to roll with him. I think he's fine.
All right, Carmen. How do we pronounce this last
Blasi.
Blasi.
Yeah, I think there's an actual Polish pronunciation here, or Ukrainian. I think he is. I should, as a Northeast European, be able to handle it, but I can't. I'm too far removed from the motherland.
All right, he's an interesting study because he's pitched fairly well in his last several seasons. Last 2 or 3 seasons, 24, 25.
Right. He's pitched all right. I think, moving to the rotation.
But he doesn't do it. He doesn't seem like he does anything particularly well.
And it seems that way because it's true. His control has regressed to mediocre moving into the rotation. It was pretty good before that. Ground ball rate, 45% is a little above average. Chase rate, swing strike rate, a little below average. He does get hit. Exit velocity is bad, but it's a low fly ball rate, so that kind of balances out a bit. I think that he was really effective in his first 4 outings, and I thought that we had sort of found a little bit of a gem, but as happens with a lot of guys that are just not in the book, so to speak.
Right. Yeah.
I think that the league kind of looked at those first 4 starts and figured him out a bit because his last 3 starts have been kind of like 5 innings, 5 runs, 5 innings, 4 runs. Not ideal. I think that you could have a streaming candidate here. I think he's okay, but I'm not super excited like I was, say, 2 weeks ago. The xFIP's 337, xERA 439, 476 actual ERA. I think he's probably a low to mid 4s pitcher, which is roughly league average. And as we go through the attrition of the season, we've all seen this just in the past few weeks. League average has its value.
It certainly does. Several positions, this league average has its value.
As the season goes on, it becomes of greater and greater value, I think.
But it just feels like there are a myriad of other options available here before I would go with Carmen.
I wouldn't have said that 2 weeks ago, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty deep. As Yogi would, I'll paraphrase Yogi, it gets shallow pretty deeply now. I mean, we've lost like 8 pitchers in the last 3 days.
That's true, yeah.
And 8 pitchers that people were using, like top 70 pitchers.
Yep.
So
that pool is...
We're rapidly entering Blasi territory here.
Well, again, it's a streaming option, perhaps. Pick your starts.
I think so. And especially in that park. I think that park is fairly attractive for pitchers, particularly right-handed pitchers, because it's just not a good left-handed power park.
And I don't mind riding the hot hand with the starting pitcher because starting pitchers put it together for 2 or 3 shots. It's usually not a one-off. Either they've got it going or they don't. Yeah,
you find a little. Well, I'll conditionalize that. I think that sometimes the low K guys can have one-offs where just every ball's hit to somebody.
Yeah.
But in general, I agree with you. In general, I think they find a little wiggle, they find a little wrinkle, and it works until the league watches what they're doing differently and then adjusts, and the game goes back and forth. So
that's what Carmen has lifted himself up because he was a mediocre K guy up until this year. His rate is a lot higher. So if he can sustain that rate, which is the big question, right?
Well, I mean, it's still below average, but it's actually come up to the point where it's palatable now,
usable, yeah,
given everything else. But all of his stuff is just roughly kind of average at this point, which, as we discussed, average can have value.
He does keep the ball in the ballpark. He's pretty good at that.
Definitely in that park makes a lot of difference.
David Peterson, 6.29 ERA, 4.75 xERA, 3.49 xFIP. So we got to look at homers, right?
Well, we can look at homers, but I think really the issue here is the control. It's been bad. He's got an excellent ground ball rate, but a pretty poor exit velocity allowed. The chase rate is up 5%. The strike rate is average. The one thing I'll say about David Peterson, and it's a really weird thing, but the Mets, 3 of his last 4 starts, the Mets have used an opener in front of him and then let him pitch. And those are the only 3 good outings he's had this year. In those 3 starts, 11 innings, 10 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 9 Ks. Now, granted, not the length you're looking for.
Give me a theory on that, because the Red
Sox
just pulled this with Brian Bayo.
I do not have one.
Yeah.
I don't have a theory. It has to be entirely mental, right?
It has to be entirely mental. Brian Bayo had gone sub 5, I think 3 starts in a row, went 7 innings after an opener.
Yeah. It's inexplicable, honestly. Like, maybe some guys just want to be relievers. I have no idea.
It's like, I'm not even asking you how it works. I'm asking what the theory is behind it, because several teams have come up with this for several starters, and it's like, I don't understand what they're even getting at.
Your guess is better than mine, man.
Yeah.
It has to be mental. I cannot think of a physical rationale for it.
No. I mean, and we've seen this has been a trend in Major League Baseball. The top end of the orders have been loaded with better hitters at this point. If the guy can go out and get the first 3 or 4 hitters, get rid of them in the first inning and set it up for the hitter to come through, makes a little bit of a difference. Plus, the next time that top of the order comes around, it's their first look at that starter. So maybe it changes that for a second.
But it's their first look when he starts the game too, and you're still facing those 3 hitters because he's been going 3 or 4 innings each time. And the whole thing, like, well, maybe he just gets really nervous and amped up before a start. If you're going to be the bulk reliever, so why wouldn't you get just as amped up? None of it makes any sense. None of it makes sense.
And what was Peterson doing? I got to look back at I got to look back at his starts, because I got to see how deep he was going before they decided to put an opener in front of him, because it might be just a situation of,
I can tell you.
It's got to be a situation of we got to get to the 7th inning. We just got to find a way to get to the 7th inning, whether it's putting a guy in the first inning and making the other guy go 5+ or 6, the bulk starter go 5 or 6. So
in the games that he started, he went 5 1/3 shutout in his opener.
Yep.
Which actually might have been the season opener. It might have been. I don't know.
Yeah.
Then he went 4 1/3, gave up 5 earns. Then 5 earned. 5, 4 earned. So then they started using him as a bulk reliever, and he went 3 2/3 shutout, 3 1/3 with 1 run. So then they put him back as a starter, and he went 3 2/3 and gave up 7.
Yeah.
And then he went 4 as a bulk reliever again in Colorado and gave up 2 runs and struck out 6.
Yeah.
So, but here's the funny thing is, the 5 times that he started, he walked 2, 2, 2, 4, and 3. And the 3 times that he came in as a bulk reliever, he walked 0, 1, and 0. So riddle me that, because I have no idea.
I don't understand. I don't understand the whole concept. Unless it's to get to the 7th inning, I don't understand the whole concept.
Well, but it can't be, because he was only going 3 or 4 innings, and the opener went 1 or 2. So maybe you got to the 6th. Maybe
it worked for Bayo in the last term, but it didn't work for Peterson. So
you ever watch Tin Cup?
Yes.
All right, take all the change, put it in your left pocket, move your hat to the side. Like, it's just changing something up.
That's been pitching for a century.
Change for the sake of change. Sometimes it works.
Move 6 inches on the rubber.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Placebo.
That's all I can think of.
All right, Lance McCullers now. Houston.
He got blasted.
Problem.
He got blasted yesterday and left with a blister. So probably take him off the list, but you probably could have taken him off the list anyway. xFIP 413, xERA 437. Those are close to league average, maybe even a smidge better. So maybe you think he's usable. Actually, ERA was 632, was terrible. And again, he got awful control. Ground ball rate has dropped steadily for 6 years now. Exit velocity allowed is up 4 miles an hour over the last 2 years. His velo is off 2 to 2.5 miles an hour since missing 2 years. Chase and swing strike rate are below average. There is nothing appealing here except for the fact that he's an Astro.
His ground ball rate is what made him usable for a long period of time, and it's just disintegrating.
Well, when he first came up, he was a good prospect.
Yeah.
And there was reason to think that he could be a front rotation guy. Those days are gone. I am not even remotely interested here.
Well, he could punch out guys, but he never was a control freak. He was always decent in control, but basically he threw ground balls.
Yeah, I mean, if you're walking 3.5 to 4 guys per 9, but you're striking out 10 or 11, and you don't give up a ton of homers, that is workable. I mean, that's the Jose Toriano mentality, right? Like,
Yep.
walk 3.75 per 9. Now he's striking out enough guys, and he doesn't really allow homers except for the White Sox. So, sure, you're good.
But the homer per 9 have erupted in the last 2 years. He's not the same pitcher.
Oh, I don't think there's much left in that arm. Like, I played a lot of baseball and softball over the years, and I got to a certain point with enough shoulder injuries where it was all I could do to throw the ball in at velocity twice a game.
Yeah.
So I would tell my team, like, look, I've got 1 or 2 throws, so I'm going to try to use them judiciously. The rest of the time, come out further for the cut.
Yeah. Catchers can't do that.
Well, exactly. Which just means that the velocity drops. And I'm sure he's given it his all. There's just, at a certain point, your arm is just fragged. That stuff, it's not like Tommy John every time. You have shoulder injuries, you have strains and stuff.
Right.
They're not replacing a ligament with a nice, new, fresh ligament. Like, you're just waiting for it to heal. It doesn't heal.
It doesn't always break. Sometimes it just wears out.
Exactly. Like, I got to the point in my career where I was having a hamstring pull a year. Because all those fibers, like, they don't heal the same. So at a certain point, you pack it in, you call it a career, and you go play with your kids and tear your meniscus the old-fashioned way.
And a lot of this is cumulative, right? The hamstring, you talked about, hamstrings cumulative.
Hamstrings cumulative, calves cumulative, and shoulders, I'm afraid, are still cumulative. I mean, the elbows, you can kind of just like tape in a new part there, but the rest of the stuff, I don't know, man. It feels not ideal.
All right. If you're new to us, go to insiderbaseball.com and check us out. There's a baseball blog that is free to non-subscribers. So go check out some great articles that are there. Give you some samples of what our subscribers get on a daily basis and some other great strategy articles from the preseason that you'll find useful, I'm sure. You'll find this podcast, which is free to non-subscribers as well. Check into our services at what we do during the course of the season to help you win baseball championships. Skyler, thanks for putting up with my cold.
You were fine, buddy. And by the way, next podcast, National Day of Potential Concern.
National Day of Potential Concern, my favorite one. Tell you whether you should give up on these guys or not, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, Skyler, we'll talk to you next time.
Sounds good, buddy.
Yo!